Hey there. It's
Hi.
Dorian and
Hi.
Matt and Jake. And this is episode 70 of Whatchu Spinnin. No theme this episode. We'll let you know.
We didn't want to do it, yeah.
We didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
We talked about, we were kind of confined we did a lot of talking about hip hop. So we're like, we can go 10, 20. We got to talk about that. We'll figure out. We'll let y'all know, of course, whenever we're doing another themed ep. But it'll be fun for sure. We were talking about it last 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
We haven't fully decided yet, but I think we can get something done. Anyway, it's episode 70. No theme other than the original formula, which is 3 dudes, 3 albums, talking about them, whether you like it or not. So, with that, I'm Dorian, your host. We're in the stronghold here.
Yes, we're in the stronghold.
We're in the stronghold.
My lord, we're doing great.
On the couch with me, we've got Matt, the empty table man himself. Don't put food on the table because he's going to empty it. We're in his place. How are you doing, my guy?
I'm doing great.
Hell yeah.
The sun was out earlier, and then you drove over here, and it got black. So,
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Brought it,
my lord.
It was as soon as I got onto the freeway to come over here, basically. Like, it was sunny all through my neighborhood. You know, I had the window down, listening to Grateful Dead, and then literally as soon as I get up to 60 miles an hour, it's like dum, dum, dum. I was like, damn, it's about to rain. What the hell?
Yeah.
But in the chair over there, we've got the muscle-bound Miho himself, Jake the Snake. How you doing, big guy?
We good, man.
Hell
We're
yeah.
good. It's a good day to be out, kind of chilling with the boys.
Hell yeah. Happy 420. Happy
That's
Record
right.
Store Day. Hope I'm going to put this out on Record Store Day, like evening, night-ish. Not going to wait till Sunday to drop this one. So that way, you know, kind of be like, hey, what's up, Record Store Day? Go support your local record store. I was talking to the owner of our favorite one, Moonrock. Shout out Callie. Was talking to her yesterday as they were prepping. They had everybody on deck, basically. Damn near every employee. Interesting list this year. Not a lot of crazy releases.
Yeah, I was going to bring it up, but I don't remember there being a whole lot on there.
There really wasn't. There was some repress stuff, but nothing really stood out. There is actually one thing that I haven't seen pressed ever. I didn't know that it was pressed. Was Skald by Wardruna, which is like Norwegian, like ancient music. The guy that did the music for Assassin's Creed Valhalla that's his band.
Oh, sick.
And so they are repressing their album from like 2018, which is badass. So I'm
nice.
I'm gonna buy it online at some point, but I'm like, what if Callie happens to have it down there today?
Yeah.
It intrigues me enough to make a little detour on my way home from here to be like, what if, you know? Because that would be sick.
Other than that, like I saw they were doing another Pinata release.
Yeah.
The 10th year, and then apart from that, like Jeffrey, I guess, if you're into that, like Young Thug.
Oh, okay.
But apart from that, yeah, not a whole lot on the list this year.
No. It's been kind of like that. And I said sometimes they do, this is what I was telling Callie yesterday, because I said the same thing. I was like, I feel like the list wasn't as strong this year. And I said, but that also being said, I bought like the sickest release of RTJ2 by Run the Jewels, like days after Record Store Day, and it was supposedly an RSD release, and so but it was never on any list, and so I was like, you know, you never know, I guess. If you don't find something today, go back and check, because you'll find something crazy. Before we get into, we got to kick it over to Jake here in a minute, but before that, anybody listening to anything cool other than what we're talking about today?
I think my playlist is ever evolving. I'm trying to think of anything new that I heard this week. Still on the Japanese 80s kick.
Hell yeah.
So been diving that. Harold Budd, who's kind of a Brian Eno-esque composer from the 70s. Been getting into him, especially at night. Very calming.
There you go.
Yep.
Rock on, Jake.
Yeah,
you got anything?
Cool. I've just been getting really into these 3 albums. Really, nothing else that much.
Okay.
Still kind of listening to like Ala Sala, like, and apart from that, not a whole lot. Just had these 3 on repeat.
Nice.
I do want to find that. I know you brought that up too, but that's such a good album.
Oh, Nostrum Grocers?
Yeah, dude.
Oh, that's a good one.
I don't think it got pressed on vinyl from what I've found. But
Yeah, I don't think
You were
so.
on a tear this past 2 weeks, Matt.
I picked that up. That came in the mail today.
Signs of Life.
Yeah, that
Hell
MF
yeah.
Doom track on there.
Oh, nice. Yeah. No, you were sending all sorts of crazy stuff that you were listening to the past 2 weeks. You were Liberation, that Madlib project.
That's a cool album.
Yeah.
Yeah, different.
Yeah, very different, but good. And then Nas, shout out actually, 30th birthday for Illmatic was
That's
yesterday.
Right. That's right.
Yeah.
Insane. Shout out episode 1 of this podcast when we talked about it. Suck it. Eat a dick. And our bracket that we we definitely have given that album some love.
Yes.
But I'll include myself in the conversation.
Yes, what have you been playing?
I went on a pre-2006 Maynard James Keenan dive. I was listening to the Lateralis album and Murdernoms so much. I just fell back into these albums. Murdernoms especially, The Hollow,
Magdalena,
Sleeping Beauty, Orestes. So many good fucking songs on that album, dude. And then Lateralis. I had my guitar tuned to drop D, so started playing that, and then I was like, wait, how much of this song can I actually remember how to play? And so I listened to it 40 times the other day, like the other week. Basically, I was just like, give me it. I got sick like 2 weeks ago. And then right after I started, like right as I felt better, it was for like 15 minutes, and then seasonal allergies hit me. And so I was out of work a lot this week, so I was literally just like sitting there doing edibles and listening to Lateralis for like 3 days when I was just chilling at home. I was like,
Yeah.
spiral out. It was a fun time.
It's a great album. So it's a kind of a overlooked Tool album in a sense, because there's so many good ones.
Right.
Undertow, and then even the newest one is one of my favorites.
Right.
And I'm glad we brought up a few of their albums on this podcast. We could probably bring up every single one of them and have a great conversation about each one.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
MJK is the man. The whole band is just so dynamic.
Right. And then it like made you, that's the thing with them, if you, at least with my fandom for them with me, it's like every time I listen to them I have to like listen to the song 6 times, because it's like, oh, what this is going on at this part is rad, and then wait, but then I missed also the bass line at that part's pretty sick,
Yeah.
So but yeah, shout out, that was me this week.
Something that was cool that I sent you guys the like spreadsheet of
That
like
was
just
really
like
cool.
Tell us about it.
Yeah, because at this point we're 70 episodes in, and just to kind of gauge where we were at, I was like, okay, I had a little bit of free time, so I like just went through all of our episodes, just seeing like what was our most picked like genre and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I like my job description says, he's capable of using Microsoft Word and Excel. So
This motherfucker,
So
I
I
swear.
made a fucking spreadsheet.
I was so nervous when you sent that file. I was like, what the fuck is this? I was like, for some reason I got nervous. I was like, what is Jake trying to do?
.xl something.
Yeah, I was like, what? I thought you got
It's an
hacked.
Excel, but no, it was like just like a pie chart of like the different genres and the breakdowns and stuff.
Yeah.
And it was cool that like we had a bunch of different variety at like once we got to individually and
Yeah.
combining everything, like so many genres that we've talked about already. And I mean, it's not perfect for sure, the spreadsheet, because I was kind of lumping some of them just into the same, because there's like a million flavor, like there's a million like different variety of like rock and hip hop
Yeah.
and all this shit. But
If you really want it, it would take you forever, and it wouldn't, that's where the fun comes out of it.
Yeah.
You could sit there and make it, all right, well, new metal, Dorian brought up 2 of those. It's, you went the right way about it. Fucking
Yeah.
call a spade here, man.
exactly.
Yeah, it's
And-
hard to name a genre too. There's so many genres.
Yeah.
And to put a band in a certain genre, it's like, well, some guy might think that's completely wrong.
Yeah.
And put it somewhere else.
Exactly.
So,
You kept it as high
Yeah.
level as needed to be. It was
I think
great.
it's great. Yeah, it's perfect.
Do you want to rattle off some of the numbers?
at the same time too, like besides that, there was just a lot of just random miscellaneous stuff that it's like we can't really put into because it's so many of them. So, but yeah, the numbers on it was like majority of the stuff that we're talking about is like hip hop and rock. Those were our two top genres. It was more than like 50%. Let me get it pulled up here. But apart from that, dude, like real diverse, like
I think you have the most diverse so far. I liked all your genre picks there. I think you kind of started that boat of going towards like, you know, jazz and more abstract things. And that got me going, you know, that's where I found Jamie Branch and things like that. So I appreciate.
Yeah. No, exactly. Like, and I don't even know like where that would go. Cause they're all so different. Like I would never have heard of, you know, like, Sekiros if you hadn't brought that up. Like so many like that we've talked about in the past that just looking at it was cool. I'm still trying to pull it up. I forgot where I sent it, but
it wasn't that long. Here, you want me to do it?
But it was pretty cool. The number specifics, yeah, they were all. I did leave out the Outcast and the hip hop bracket, obviously because it was massive. I was like, I'm not doing all that. But like majority of Dorian's was like rock oriented. And hip hop, like they were like matching, but you had more rock.
Makes sense.
Matt kind of the same. Oh yeah, there it is. Kind of the same, but yeah, majority of it is like in general for all of ours was pretty well mixed. I feel like we're doing a good job, like just bringing up a bunch of different genres and experimenting with music.
Exactly, and that's why it's also like it is, you know, like, oh, even when you make it such a broad genre like that, you know, you just call everything rock or, you know, like all of whatever got included in that. It's like, that's even more impressive that there's that many that show up, you know, when you look at it like that. But yeah, there's some crazy stuff that we've gone into and, you know, are going to continue to go into. I know I've got some stuff that I want to bring up down the pipeline. So I'm stoked to see where we go, and that was crazy. I was like, I don't know, like I said, I don't know why it made me nervous, but then I looked at it and I was like, oh, what the fuck? I'm like, oh, yeah, I was like, that tracks. I was like, that makes sense, you know, the 50-50 split for me with like rock and hip hop, basically. But yeah, shout out, that was awesome. Thanks for doing that.
Yeah, no, I thought it was cool just to see where we were at.
Yeah. Well, Jake, don't think you're getting out of talking quite yet, because you are the maidenhead for episode 70. We got to kick things off by talking about your album, my favorite band of all time. Go ahead and tell them what it is.
I know, you're like, I'm surprised you didn't bring this album up first, but just like Sleep Token, somebody else beat you to it. It's like you beat me to it.
2009 Thrice, Beggars. Yeah, that's the running joke. It's Dorian's favorite band, his favorite album of the band.
I realized I had never heard a Thrice song until I heard this album. I had never, again, like I said, it was some guy, some like distant relative was like, at one point in my life, I looked like, and that was like 13 years ago, I looked like the singer for Thrice. And I told Jake that because he brought this album up to me in a conversation. I was like, oh yeah, blah, blah, blah. I told him that. And so now it's his running joke forever.
And it always will be.
And it's the one thing that always, I'm like, shut up.
Apart from that though, it's their 7th album. I feel like it's a good turning point for them in their like career, because they like their early stuff is like, you know, post-punk, like hardcore and all this stuff, and they start getting more experimental, and then this being like their 10th year running, I guess it's pretty good, and it's got 10 songs on it on the album. So I feel like when albums have just like not as much wiggle room and it's specific, it's a lot more like more of a statement. I feel like because they wrap it all up so quickly. Their styles in each are different, like really different. They like have a good build up, and then they're slowing down, or they're going fast, they're going slow. I have a lot of appreciation with this album. I've had a lot of time with it, but like, what are your guys' thoughts on it so far?
It's it definitely came out in 2009. That's when you said 2009?
Yeah.
Okay. It is that era, it like to a T of what was popular or like what was coming out in rock music was this kind of almost reminiscent of like Jeff Buckley a little bit, you know, like there's a little bit of grace in this album. I felt like a little bit of influence from that album kind of translated to this, which was, you know, very popular for this kind of music back in 09. Great stuff though. It's funny, you know, we just covered Red Fang, Whales and Leeches, because I was like, that was insane with guitar riffs. And this one's also insane with guitar riffs, but from a melodic standpoint. That was like crazy power chord progressions that they were doing, but this is like very nice, very technical, like almost finger picking going on. That and like the song structure, the songs are written really well, and it feels like such a short album, you know, because it takes you on a ride. It's like right off the jump aggressive, and then it's like, hey, introspective kind of, you know, a little bit with the lyrical content, and then it's like, hey, we're gonna wrap it up and be very like emotional toward by the end of this. And I'm like, damn, it takes you on a ride very quickly, I feel like, even though the runtime isn't insanely short, you know what I mean?
I think lyrically too, it does talk about a lot of cool topics. It'd be like loss or love and things like that. And their musical style on this album, I haven't heard any of their other albums. This was also my first time hearing this band. I was like blown away. They're just diverse in how they play music, and they sounded like so many different people that I've listened to in the past.
Exactly.
Whether it was a distorted guitar towards the end of the album that I liked, or Wooden Wire. That's one of my favorite tracks, because it's just it's different. The whole track, the track's different throughout the whole song. And when a band can do that gracefully, not to piggyback on Grace, but a band can do that with ease, it says a lot about what they're doing. And this being their 7th album, they've been doing it a while.
Right.
I was reading up a little bit about them this morning, and apparently the last 2 albums they did before this, they were kind of separated when they were writing, and the writing process wasn't as together. And so this album, they came back together and they collaborated more. And I think you can feel them as a band. Like I said, I haven't heard their other stuff, but they sound really tight, and so I'm sure their live shows were just as good back in 09. I'm sure they still are now, but very cool. I've never heard this band before. I've heard the name a million times, but never heard a song.
I feel like it's kind of memed on in a way,
a little bit,
the band name, but just because like I feel like the majority of people that listen to them, they're like real specific with what their favorite album is. And just because they've done a lot. The album before this was really good. They did like a series, like I think it's called The Alchemy or something.
Yeah, the Alchemist series or something.
There's like it's like a 2-part, like based off like elements and stuff. But
like
it's really cool.
Like that. Yeah, I was reading about that too.
Yeah,
but Vihaisu was like a really good album. And like they had feels of like their early stuff were like more hardcore, and then they're like slowing down stuff. Like you have songs like Beggars. Like Wood and Wire, that one also starts off a little bit slow, and then Circles. So it has like a mix of everything for it, which is cool. So besides that, like the song structures and the lyrics, they are really good too, and they have a lot of themes throughout it, but for the most part it like feels really raw too. The recording, sometimes you'll hear things that, you know, they say in their I'm getting ahead of myself because like they have a little booklet that comes with the vinyl that like it has like interviews with them, and like how their thought process was coming up to the songs in each, and like
I love that kind
that
of
is
shit.
Cool.
They all have like different says on like different tracks and like what they were going through and the recording process. So that's really cool in that sense, that they kind of, because it was like really different for what they were doing at the time. But I'm glad you guys liked it. I know it's like at some points it feels like too slow, I feel like, especially kind of wrapping up with Beggars. But Beggars is such a killer ending to an album too. Yeah,
it does. It is almost, you almost do have that idea, you know, you're like, oh, interesting choice to end on Beggars, but then by the time Beggars is done, you're like, yeah. And that's my favorite thing that an artist will ever do is put the title track at the very end of an album.
Yeah, I haven't seen that very often.
It's my favorite thing ever. Like, I can't remember someone, there's another like big artist or another album that I love that they, it might, correct me if I'm wrong, And Justice for All it might be, or no. Anyway, there's another album that I love that does that, and so, to wrap it up with that and to have it be like the most emotional piece, the album was very nice. The one thing that I can see in the memed on thing is hilarious. I mean, hilarious, good stuff. But it was good for the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like for the stuff that was coming out at that time. I'm guilty of liking some of those bands, like the Breaking Benjamins and all that stuff, and I feel like this is almost like if they messed up a couple of things, they were almost like a watered down Breaking Benjamin, but they managed not to. So shout out, and the product was great. There was a lot of really interesting like drum patterns that were going on. I was like, wow, this album it got very technical at times, which I was, for someone who had heard of Thrice, kind of their like haha mythos that they kind of have about them on the internet. Hearing it, I was like, no, this is actually good. I'm like, they actually know what they're doing over there, so shout out to them. Yep. Hell yeah. Any other final whites?
No, they're all good musicians. I agree.
Oh yeah.
I think this album as a whole is very good.
Yeah.
And we love a good title track, and like you said a minute ago, ending it with that is in itself, when it's a good song, is great. So.
Yeah, starting off with the song All the World Is Mad was a great move also. I feel like the track listing, like how they really paid attention to the layout of this album, because I feel like they knew that they were because they kind of had these, they're not songs, if you really think about them. They're like pieces of music,
It is almost a concept album. Yeah.
They kind of have like, kind of a lot of meaning to them, whether it's from the instrumental standpoint, that can even come across. And then going from that to like the weight, that is kind of what gives it that concept album feel, is because you go from something super catchy into a song that's very like, aggressive, a little harder rock, than what is to come on the album. And so it almost does feel like a play, like a soundtrack to something. So that was kind of a cool kind of thing that I kind of took away from it, listening to it. I was like, this is it has movements to it, and it goes enough places to where this could almost be, concept album. I think that's what they tried to do with this. So I dug that for sure.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Nice. Well, in that case, we can get into the top threes.
Hit me, baby.
Honorable mention, Talking Through Glass, and We Move Like Swing Sets. I like that it's like they do like a faster intro to the song, the first half, and then the second, because it's 2 songs in one. It's like a lot slower. It's just, you hear that acoustic guitar, nothing else. Pretty good ending. Number 3, The Wait.
Nice.
Number 2, In Exile. That song is so good. And then my favorite song recently has been The Great Exchange. I've been loving that. It's like the last really good guitar riff ending right into the Beggars, where it's a great way to end the album.
Hell yeah. Love that. I will go next. Honorable mentions for me. Start off, All the World Is Mad. Felt like that was the move to start the album off with that, kind of grab the masses, really. I feel like everybody could, I felt that song, I was like, if I were to have to show any song off of this to everybody I know, it would be that one, because I feel like that one everybody could like. So shout out to that. Second one, In Exile. Love the guitar riff on that one. And then number 3 for me, Beggars. Hell of a way to close an album. Love a good emotional track like that. Number 2, Circles. Kind of liked when they slowed that down a little bit. I was like, okay, cool. Pretty nice. And then number 1, The Wait. Yeah, very catchy. That one was nice. The little like, yeah, just the guitar tone alone on that song. I was like, yeah, this fucking rules. I was like, yeah, they got me. All right. So yeah, that starting off the album with those two songs like hooked me immediately. So shout out, love this album.
Heck yeah, good picks. For me, honorable mention, I always like a good title track, so Beggars would be that one. Excuse me. Number 3, In Exile. I like Double Speak for my second pick. And then my favorite track, as I was saying when I first started talking, was Wood and Wire. Just got a good feel all over the place with the melodies and the range of the song in general. Good track.
Wood and Wire.
Yeah.
Love this. I like that title too for some reason. It is very, like, it's very organ sounding. Like a Wood and Wire. I feel like that's like a new cappuccino shop downtown, you know? But hell yeah, man. Beggars by Thrice, released in 2009, which was Jake's pick. Great way to kick off this episode 70 of Whatchu Spinnin' live from the Stronghold. We'll be right back with my pick for this week. It's Whatchu Spinnin' episode 70. Deuces. Welcome back. It's Whatchu Spinnin', episode 70. Back here at the Stronghold, old Matt's place. We are here talking about we've got the second album for today on the docket, which is my pick for this week. An album from last year, Genesys, by Anyma. Kind of some trancey techno bordering on house, very kind of the same throughout, kind of go some places. I don't know. I really like it. I've been obsessed with it since I heard it right around when we went to Portland.
Oh, nice.
Within that, like 2 weeks within that, I think, is when I heard this, and I've been obsessed with it ever since. But yeah, Anyma, Genesys. What do y'all think?
That's cool. I didn't know that you've been listening to it, because it's been a while then, because it's pretty fresh. I feel like it just came out like a couple months ago. Yeah, it was last year, but it was like it was pretty recent that it's been out.
Yeah.
One thing that really caught my attention about it too, besides the music, was the shows.
Oh yeah.
Like, I just looked up online, like, you know, because I like, especially with house music and like DJs, I like seeing their setups.
Oh yeah.
And his is just like a stage, but there's like a big ass screen on the back that the visuals are fucking nuts.
Oh yeah. So that's real quick. Let me tell you what.
I saved a video of that for us. Yeah, the shit is insane. Him and Grimes at Coachella.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that's funny that we're all talking about it. Shit's insane. What is going on?
Oh my god.
And his whole thing is like digital art and music interacting with the audience. So, dude, that would be so fun to go to.
That's nuts.
Right? Man, is he here right now?
See, it's live in person. Yeah, that's what drew me into it. So I was at my old place, and I was in my room, a couple IPAs deep, had, you know, smoked some bowls, and I was sitting there scrolling Facebook, and Eternity, there was like a performance of him at Tomorrowland doing Eternity, and it was like that like visual and everything, and I was like, whoa. What the?
Yeah.
Whoa! What the? It like jump scared me. I was like, "What the fuck is that?" And so I was like, "Anyma." I was like scrolling through the comments, seeing if somebody even like, "What song is this?" And immediately went on a deep dive. And I got into this like genre and like adjacent subgenres of like techno music for like a month and a half. Like, it was so hard for me not to bring up random EPs of people I was listening to, like Alizeko or like some weird Space 92. That guy fucking rules. Like, just random, like random. I gotta do some weird stuff, and I haven't done party drugs in a long time. So
that's cool.
That's what drew me into it. Was like just a random Facebook reel, and I was like, what the hell? So
yeah, no, it's such a diverse genre. There's like so many that keep popping up of like DJs just making crazy fucking. This album's really good though. Besides the visuals and like the actual like shows, I feel like is what would be the standing point for most people. The music on it is still good though.
Yeah.
Like you have songs like Siren that's really good. It's like blaring, but it's like so up tempo, and then some songs they feel a lot more techno.
Yeah.
But it was good, man. Really good find. Where did you find this actually? Like, because their website was like sold out of everything.
Amazon.
Nice.
I think Amazon might have like the last stock of the clear pressing of it, because I was gonna buy it off of his website, and then it sold out, and I was like, what the hell? So I Googled it, and the first thing that popped up was Amazon, and I was like, no way. And it was in stock, and so I was like, immediately, I was like, yeah, gotta get that. Mm-hmm. It was literally between this and I Told Bessie by Elucid, and I was like, nah, I gotta get.
Tough call, but yeah.
Tough call. I've been obsessed with this. But yeah, so that's how I managed to track it down, and it's clear. It is as clear as a window pane. I tell you what.
Yes, the look of the vinyl is great.
Yeah, I love it.
You were showing us earlier. But this album is fun for me because it's good for driving. It's good for just, cooking to and just like grooving to. And I don't know, I liked it. I'm not really into techno music or EDM, but the more that you brought up albums in this genre, the easier it's been for me to access it. And I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And he's got a lot of good guest spots on this album too.
Yeah, him and Chris Avantgarde. They work together pretty frequently, I feel like. And yeah, the like Rabook, like there's, again, I don't know any of these people. Like this guy was my foray into like who's big in this subgenre, and I'm like, who are half of these people? Like, I don't know anybody. It's very, very interesting. It is kind of, I don't know a whole lot about this guy. I listened to, in the past 2 weeks, I listened to the group that he came from, or the duo, A Tale of Us. And it's very much, it's like Rufus Du Sol, but like brighter, if you can imagine that. Like more, more housey than techno. And so to have him branch off from that and do something this aggressive is, because that's like kind of the take I get from it, is that it feels aggressive to me. Like, the sound of it is very, while it is trancey at times, the majority of it is very like it feels, it's definitely like cyberpunk shit for sure. Like all of the visuals that he uses are to a T what this stuff sounds like. I'm like, yeah, of course it's like a half plant, half cyborg woman shooting laser beam out of their hand. Like, it's so weird. It's so weird, but very intriguing stuff to listen to, as you said.
Yeah, it fits live shows look amazing. Like we were talking about when we started, they look intense, and he tries to get the audience involved, the guests, in whatever way you can be. But man, that looks intense. You don't need drugs for that. You just watch it, have fun. But I love this album. It's just fun. I don't think it's, somebody could listen to this album and be like, it just sounds the same, but I think every song on this album is different.
It's just, I think it's a BPM thing. Like a lot of it is basically like the same.
I think if you look beyond that though, you find other parts of the song that are amazing. For the most part, and you can get over that stereotype that a lot of people have about this genre. It's like, no, it's just bass heavy boom boom. It's like, no, it's not. It's not at all. You're just you're making it sound like that because you're not trying.
Exactly.
Listen to the song, man.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's 420. We smoked earlier.
It's very true though. And I was actually having this conversation earlier this week. I went to my buddy Pat's show at the Hybrid. Shout out Pat Cole on Instagram. Good folk country-esque kind of guy. Me and Alex, friend of the show, were hanging out. That's our buddy from high school. And he and I were talking about like making beats and about like house music and like production in general, because we're both interested in it. And I was like, it's so much harder than people like even making like this. I showed him like he like kind of knew what I was talking about when I was explaining this music to him, and he's like, yeah, like it has to be. I was like, you have to know computers, like you have to know how to program basically, like to a certain extent, and it's wild to me. And so that's I was also telling Audrey that, and she's like, do you know how to make beats? I said, no. Why do you think I'm just gonna mic up an amp and play guitars into it? I was like, I can do that. I was like, I don't want to learn how to code. I'm like, that sounds awful. But yeah, so like shout out to this, to Anyma, and creating this kind of cyborg weird, and it's all like the vocal samples on it are like, express eternity, eternal salvation. It sounds like Manchurian Candidate activation words, but it's awesome. It adds to the whole like trance of it. You can't help but sit there and just like watch gloving videos the whole time,
it's like robotic sometimes too, and like precise.
That was my favorite thing. That is kind of, I'm thinking, is his signature thing is like the rolling kind of synth sound, to where it's like like it's some weird, you guys know what I'm talking about, right? That like
weird thunder kind of, it's like it's spread out perfectly when he does it,
and it sounds like almost like a drum roll, like a bass drum roll that like a metal drummer would do, and I'm like, oh, it's so sick. But shout out Anyma. Recent obsession. Kind of waited until I had a physical copy of it to bring it up on the show, and
shout out to you, man. That's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, it was
I try to do that too, and sometimes it's hard if it's like sold out everywhere. You can't find it.
Yeah, sometimes you just have to give up. Like I recently ordered. I was just telling Jacob, I kept trying to find Headhunters by Herbie Hancock in store, because I was like, there's no way, it has to be in store somewhere, and I kept waiting. Finally buckled and got it on Discogs. I was like, that was like almost a year of me waiting. But yeah, we want to dive into top threes.
Yeah,
cool.
Let's do it.
Hell yeah. Honorable mentions for me. Number 1, Explore Your Future. Just again, that one, the vocal sample on it really was what did it for me. And again, that rolling synth, that one had its own little thing. Eternity, first song I heard of this guy, hell of a way to start off the album. And I particularly like the vinyl version of this whole album, but particularly that song, because all of the songs have extended intros, and Eternity's extended intros is very nice. It's like goes from like very calming into that kind of strong build that Eternity has. Number 3 for me is Walking with a Ghost. Liked the vocal feature on that. Delia de France, I think, is the artist who featured on that. That was a really good pairing. Number 2 was The Answer, the song I played before we started. And the number 1 for me was Siren. Just really liked the jarring intro of that. Pardon me. And the visual that they do live for that is really cool. It's like some Medusa looking chick doing like hooping. It's like she's doing hula hooping gestures, but not actually, because she's a Medusa cyborg woman, so she doesn't understand what hula hooping is. So the visual for that one was really sick. And that was like the second thing I found from this guy. So Siren's my favorite song.
Nice. Honorable mention for me was Save Me. And then 3, 2, 1. 3 would be Cordial. I like Walking with the Ghost as my second pick, and then my favorite song was Samsara. I guess you say that.
Nice.
That was my favorite song. I like the feel of that one. And again, this album is really unique, so anybody that's looking to get into this genre, this is a great way to start, I feel like.
Yeah, it's and it fits, like Matt said, it fits into everything that you could like plug your day with music, like cooking. It has its own thing. I made breakfast to it today, and then transitioned into cleaning my house, and then packing. Like I did a litany of things to this album today. So I do love it, and I'm glad that y'all like it. But go ahead, Jake.
Honorable mention, Siren. That it's a pretty good song, and the visuals are fucking nuts. The Answer, number 3, that song gave me like Justice vibes, like Genesys. Like and then number 2, Explore Your Future. And then my favorite song, Angel One. That song was on my rotation heavy this week.
Nice.
Especially when I was like at the gym and stuff. Like it's pretty good up tempo, and they kind of maintain that throughout the whole song. So yeah, it's good.
Hell yeah. Shout out. Glad y'all liked it.
Yes.
Anyma, Genesys, which was released, I believe, in April of 2023. I think it was like pre that huge wave of crazy albums that came out. But yeah, my pick for this week. We'll be right back to wrap it up, put a big old bow on it. This special 420 Record Store Day, episode 70 of Whatchu Spinnin. Blaze it, brother! No time to talk. Wait a minute.
Nice.
I like that remix. I think it needs to be recorded.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah.
I waited. Do y'all know what Herbie Hancock looks like? Have you ever seen a picture of him?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What he looks like now? So, like I was telling y'all, Audrey's parents came to town. We're at Marche, and her dad had to pull out his wife's readers to read the menu because he left his at home. Mm-hmm. And he's like, this is what you have to look forward to, as you know, they all say. But he puts these glasses on, and he looks like white Herbie Hancock, and I lost my fucking mind in Marche. I was like, I was like, dude, stop. I was like, because he looked at me perfectly. Like, there's a picture. Hey,
Moxie.
Moxie. I'll have to plug the picture in, but there's a particular picture, and he did the exact face that Herbie does in this picture, and I was like, dude, I was like, you gotta not. I was like, look the other fucking way, dude. I was like, that is too much.
Don't do it, bro.
So hell yeah, shout out Scott, shout out Herbie Hancock. That made me laugh. Don't worry, my next pick isn't Herbie Hancock. I know I'm talking about it a lot. I'm just really excited to get that album because I finally saw it drop in price. Yeah.
Nice.
Whoa. Hey there. All right, but it's time to wrap this fun episode up. It's been a fun time. I've had a good time. We've talked about a lot of good stuff, and we have to talk about some more good stuff in order to wrap this bad boy up. It's Matt's turn to bring up his album. What you got?
Going back to 1997, post-rock, instrumental, whatever you want to call this genre. But this is an album by a band called Mogwai. The album is Young Team from 1997. Yeah, I can't pigeonhole this genre at all. It's not like, Godspeed You Black Emperor, because there's a lyrical content to some of the songs, and even on their other albums, the same thing. They sing more. They're from Scotland, got that heavy guitar, heavy distorted, ambient kind of feel to it. Very different album for coming out in 97, kind of setting that tone for this genre in particular. I have a few things to say about it. And I was introduced to them kind of after the Sigur Rós Train.
That makes sense.
Nice.
Listening to Explosions in the Sky kind of got me into this kind of music too, because that's more of, guitar-driven instrumental music that you go really high and really low and really high and really low. So
yeah,
a lot of different bands in this genre, but I think Mogwai stands apart just because they were kind of the first to make it a little bit more accessible in the mainstream and, set that bar. So what'd you guys think of the album?
Jake, do you want me to go first on this one?
I can go.
Because I have, this is going to be hilarious. Okay.
Okay.
What's their other album called? Their other good one that you have?
Come On Die Young.
Come On Die Young with the guy's face, Aesop Rock and Kabuki makeup.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I just looked at it. That's really
but it's accurate.
That
okay.
Is insanely accurate.
Believe it or not, that's not all. I've got more for you. Mogwai. So just like hearing this name and like that was all I had ever seen was that album cover. And hearing the name, I thought they would sound like what Fugazi sounds like, but like more punky. I thought they were like a punk band.
They were influenced by Fugazi.
I did read that.
Yeah, I saw that.
And so I was like, I just had never listened to them until this. Even this album cover, I'm like, oh yeah, that's like also a punky-esque, because, people in punk bands are anime nerds usually. And that is a census question. I did do the research. But yeah, so I was floored. I was like, when it kicks on and I hear, yes, I am a long way from home, and I'm like, wait, what? I was like, no kidding. This is it. This is what Mogwai is. I was like, it's not repeater, but fast. Like it's not fast repeater by Fugazi. So that was, that took a while. That was like the whole first listen for me. I was just like, what the? There's xylophones? what the fuck? I was losing my mind because I was so, that was like so cemented, this weird thought I'd put. I was like, oh yeah, that's like a punk band. I had just made this thing up in my head and was like, oh yeah, maybe I'll listen to him at some point. But yeah, all that to say, this was incredible. This kind of a little more lyrical, as you said, Scottish, but like everything was so just big and like it was like honestly inspiring listening to this album, dude. It was weird for me. Okay. I was like, yo, what? I was listening to it and I was like, man, why am I crying right now? Like not like that emotional, but I was like, it made me like think so much about like life and like what I want to do and like, you know, because I'm like trying to do a bunch of things. I've been holding in a laugh about that damn cat since we started talking about Mogwai, so that I had to let that one go.
Thanks for fixing the blind.
You good? Okay, she's good. Oh, that was hilarious.
I just saw it in the corner of my eye, but like I saw what happened.
I'm not a smart cat.
Shout out Moxie. So yeah, it just made me think and, you know, kind of try and figure things out and put things into perspective for myself. Not like I'm going through a horrible time, you know, but it like it just like opened up my brain a little bit to be like, hey, what about this? And so I loved it for that reason alone. And then the musical content to it and like the concept of the music in and of itself is very interesting. Having a vocal that's there, damn near undecipherable, is very interesting. It's a very interesting move, and I respect the hell out of it, and I actually love it. You know, to make the vocal there and have it be the furthest thing from the focal point on some of this is an incredible move, in my opinion. I loved the execution behind this album. Yeah, I loved it. Where did you find this? Was it Discogs?
This is a re-release that came out last year. They released that Come On Die Young and a few of their other ones. Nice. And I found this at Moonrock.
Cool.
Nice. I was looking for this one originally, but couldn't find it. And just like I said, stumbling upon them through Cigaros and that kind of genre kind of got me into this. And I think to piggyback on what you said with songs making you feel certain ways or getting you more emotional, I think the melodies that Mogwai uses does that. It does that for me. Some of their other albums, there'll be other songs that do the same thing. They're just good at what they do, and they set a mood and they put an emotion within that mood, and I think it helps the listener kind of find their own meaning, whether it be trying to learn something about themselves or whatever. And when a musician can do that, it's pretty cool. So
yeah, because at some points I feel like in the album they're a little bit faster and harder with their guitar riffs, and then you'll have like just mellow, like kind of ambient songs like you have with Radar Maker. And then same thing with Portfolio. That one also, it's, you know, it's like kind of ambient feeling, but the structure of it is really good. It's really well thought out, and how it's laid out to the album, it like perfectly flows. Even when it has those large distinctions, like it's still really good. It holds up. But no, it was my first introduction to Mogwai. I've never heard of them. Really liked it. Loved that it kicked off with Yes, I'm a Long Way From Home. That's like a perfect intro, and I feel like it really just sums up this album to start with that.
Yeah. And starting off, as you said, with that in particular, sorry, I'm trying to make sure we're still recording. We're good. Starting off with that song in particular was a really good way to like introduce the listener to what was to come. I think the focal point being that like melodic bass line at the beginning was very cool. Obviously, someone who plays bass, I'm obviously gonna love that. But outside of that, that was kind of the theme throughout the album. Was like, hey, our bass player can write really melodic stuff, and so that was really cool. You know, also to have something that's so guitar heavy, have also a lot of thought put into how the bass lines and everything are executed, shows how much they thought about this as a whole. And that's kind of why I referred to it as like the concept behind the music and the execution of it, because it's not just slapping four chords together over a four on the floor drum beat. It's like there's again movements to this, much like with the Thrice album. It's a composition, really, is what it is. It's not. It's no longer a song. Especially once you breach 12 minutes. I'm sorry, you're Beethoven. You don't get to call it. You're not a rock band anymore, Maynard. You're making compositions, which is fantastic. Like, I feel like that's kind of, you deserve to call it that at that rate. And I feel like that's really the perfect way to describe this. These songs, because they really do go from one spot to another and then back again and everywhere in between. So yeah, it's a ride the whole time.
Yeah, and they're still doing good. Their last album in 2021 was #1 in the UK. What was it called? All the Love Continues. Yeah. So they're still doing that thing, and every album, I swear, is unique in its own sense, and there is more vocals on some of their later material. One of their more popular releases, Happy Songs for Happy People, a lot more lyrical content in that album, but a little bit more sad. So Mogwai kind of got pigeonholed as being a loud band when this album got released. So their next album that they released, To Come On Day Young, they quieted it down a little bit with their song structure, and you can definitely hear that. But just a diverse band and what they can do in the studio. I've always wanted to see them live, but I've never had the chance. I've seen a lot of these similar bands live, but this is definitely on the list.
Yeah, that's the other thing I was reading up, is that their live shows are usually pretty awesome, because they've also been asked to like do soundtracks for like documentaries about
I was gonna say
French
that.
soccer players or something.
Yeah, because it sounds like with the album, they kind of sounds like it could be like, a soundtrack to something. And actually, speaking about that, Dorian, I did see that they did a documentary of Zidane, and they did a whole soundtrack for that.
That is for that whole
okay. Yeah,
that's cool.
Like the soccer player.
Yeah, I was like,
which is fucking nuts. I was like, it checks out. It would be like a soundtrack that they'd end up making because it's very it's so much detail in it, and it's so heavy. It's like landscaped what they're doing. It's super. Like 16 minutes tracks on the album, and like some that are just like 1 to 2, but they're still like so like storytelling in a way.
And they do the whole soundtrack.
Yeah, they do the whole soundtrack for
that's really
for
cool.
that documentary,
which is awesome that they managed to do it, because that was like the thing. I remember that's what we all said about Godspeed, was especially that Raise Your Skinny Fist album we covered, we're all like, yeah, this is like perfect soundtrack music, and then to finally have a band that we've said that for do it, and it'd be like, oh no, it makes sense that they did that, because that's their whole shtick, is making stuff that sounds like soundtracks. And it's like, shout out Mogwai for making it out the mud, basically, as far as noise rock bands go. But yeah, it's all like abstract, and as I said earlier, makes you think. And I think that really, you get lost in these songs. And I think, as I said, like the first listen, I was more like wrapping my head around what was going on, and so song length was not a concern. And then listening to it the second time and every subsequent listen, I was like, damn, this song is still going. It's gone somewhere completely different at this point. So that's impressive to engage the listener that much and go that many crazy places with it and come right back is very interesting and very talented. So shout out to him.
You used a good term to describe it too, using like a landscape, when they create their music. And a song like Harad does that, that's one of the longer songs on the album, and that just goes from intense to not
exactly
real fast.
Yeah,
like that throws you off.
That squeal on that guitar squeal, that like breakdown, like oh, so good. I love this album. Thanks for bringing it up.
I'm glad you guys liked it. Sometimes albums or music like this can get lost in some people because they don't hear any lyrics, and they focus on the lyrics so much. And I think even the lead singer said that. He's like, people focus on lyrics, and when they're not there, it throws them off. And we're trying to just, engage with the listener a little bit more.
Hell yeah. And I think they do a damn good job of that.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, hell yeah. Gonna have to look for it now.
Do it. Dive in?
Shall we?
Let's do it.
Kick us off.
Honorable mention for me would be Are You Still Into It? Love that track.
Yep.
Number 3, I like Tracy, just because it's a very diverse song in general. Number 2, Summer. And then my favorite track was the intense long track Like Harad.
Hell yeah. Honorable mentions for me, the first track, Yes I Am a Long Way From Home. Just great way to start it off. That bass line at the beginning, very good. Number 2 for me is the ending track, Mogwai Fears Satan. That I think was used as the pitch song for the Zidane documentary when because Mogwai got asked to do it. It wasn't like them asking. They took footage that they were planning that like they used in the documentary and put it to a remix of Mogwai Fears Satan, and that's what made the band decide to do that doc. Okay. They were like, oh yeah, that makes sense. For sure, we'll write one for you. Bet. Cool.
That's so iconic, dude, for like one of the best like soccer players like of all time.
Yeah, that's shout out. That's wild. Zidane. Number 3 for me was Catrian. Just liked that song. The middle of this album really was what did it for me, if I'm being honest. And the number 2, Tracy, the xylophones on that were like in that whole like trancey little place it kept going back to was very nice. I loved that. And the number 1 also, like Harad, can't get over that heavy breakdown that's like kind of in the beginning of that song, and then the rest of it is truly a journey, that song in and of itself. So that's my number 1.
Honorable mention, Radar Maker. That song and with Portfolio, like just the piano, it just like it sounds like Minecraft music kind of in a way, like it's like kind of mellow, pretty, but like really really good listening. Number 3, Are You Still Into It? Number 2, Tracy, and then my favorite, that's the common consensus, is Like Harad.
Nice. Heck yeah.
Rock on.
Yeah, if you guys like this album, there's a album that they did. Some bands will do that where they do like the BBC commissions, like or sessions.
Oh yeah,
they did one for this, and there's a few tracks from this album on that. And that was actually the first album that I bought by Mogwai. I was like, oh, I'll just buy this.
Hell yeah!
So check that out. You guys like it?
Hell yeah!
Nice.
Shout out Mogwai and their 1997 release, Young Team. Matt's pick to wrap up this beautiful episode 70, 420 RSD edition of Whatchu Spinnin. Nothing special going on here, just business as usual. Go ahead, support your local record store today. Support your local dispensary. Do whatever. And yeah, stay tuned. We're about to tell you what's coming next for episode 71. It's Whatchu Spinnin. See you in a sec. Okay, it's time for everybody's favorite part of every episode of Whatchu Spinnin, other than the intro, is the outro. Just kidding. It is a very exciting part around these parts where we get to introduce what's coming next episode. This particular episode 70 was very fun. Got to talk some Anyma, some techno stuff there, some good old 2009, a little more abstract rock with Thrice, and then Mogwai, which I think is all that you need to use to describe Mogwai.
Yeah, I think that just sums it up there.
Yeah, a Mogwai is a very interesting creature, and Mogwai is a very interesting band. Okay?
Don't feed them after midnight.
Don't feed the bassist after midnight, because they'll take all your food. Anyway, so we go in the order that we talked in, which means I got to kick it to Jake across the way to tell us what he's got coming next time.
Yeah, so it's Bismillah, I think that's how you pronounce it, by Peter Cat Recording Co.
Hell yeah.
Cool.
Hell yeah.
It came out in 2019.
2019? Yeah. Okay, I thought you were going to say 1920. I was like, that picture is... I was like, that's the clearest picture from 1920 I've ever seen.
Yeah, the brightest picture.
I was like, that is
the technology these days.
That is a repress if I've ever seen one. Hell yeah. Bismillah. By what recording company?
Peter Cat Recording.
Peter Cat. Yeah, will not let you go. It was
let me go.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, that's gonna be easy. That's easy as fuck to remember. Yeah. Bohemian Rhapsody. All right, so we're just going to talk about Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen. Jake was really persistent about that. No, kidding. That'll be fun. That album cover alone looks very fun.
It looks really cool.
Yeah.
It's like indie. It's like feel good.
Okay.
With like these sunnier times, I feel like it'll be a good listen.
Okay.
To.
Hell yeah.
I like it.
Feels very summer.
Very. The album cover does have a summer feel to it. Let's go ahead and go to me. I'm going with an album that I just keep kind of like Anyma, but this one I have repeatedly and keep coming back to it. And this week when I was listening to these 3 albums, I would immediately put this one on. As we all know, I love the year 2004 when it comes to releases, particularly metal releases from 2004. I'm a big fan of, so I'm going Lamb of God, Ashes of the Wake. Not your dad's thrash metal, but I say that would probably be like the closest subgenre of metal that we could put him into. Insane album, very, very talented musicians on this. Lamb of God, Ashes of the Wake, 2004.
Nice. Never listened to that band, but I'm intrigued. And since I just got this in the mail recently, I'm going to go with 1987 Jane's Addiction, their first album. It's a live album. Very short, very sweet, but it's kind of set the tone for that genre specifically. And this Dave Navarro guitar playing is so good. Early Dave.
Pre-Chili Peppers, pre-LA or Ink Masters.
Yeah, pre all that.
Pre-everything. Hell yeah. Jane's
It looks like a
Addiction.
little girl on the back.
Oh my god. How cute. The wood paneling and everything.
Oh my god.
That's awesome. Jane's Addiction. Wow. Hell yeah.
That's a good one.
Hell yeah. Bismillah, Lamb of God, Jane's Addiction. Once again, all over the place. That's what we like around here on Whatchu Spinnin. Fellas, any send-offs?
Keep finding new tunes. They're out there.
Support your local record store.
Yes, that
Yep.
too.
Yep, and most importantly, tell a friend about this podcast. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, your big kahunas in the podcasting game. And then everywhere else you find podcasts, even if you're weird and do like one of those weird mom and pop websites, we're up on there. Like, subscribe, share. We have some episodes that have done a lot better than others. But yeah, even if we don't talk about what you like, you might know somebody who is super into stuff that sounds like Mogwai, and maybe send them this episode. It is time stamped. You don't have to listen to the full thing. You can just listen to like the 15-17 minute segment of whatever artist you like or your buddy likes. Be a mensch and follow us on Instagram at Whatchu Spinnin. None of the punctuation, just Whatchu Spinnin. Follow me at Dorian Dilly, at Vinyl Tables for Mr. Matt. Constantly posting music stuff, and when we go see shows, I post little recaps of that. Anyways,
Nice.
This has been Whatchu Spinnin' episode 70. Jake, thanks for coming. Thanks for being a part of this as always. Matt, thanks for hosting. Love
thanks
coming
for
out
hosting,
here.
Matt.
Anytime. Thanks for coming to the Stronghold.
The Stronghold. I don't know. We gotta find
My lord.
We gotta
Holding it
find something
down.
better.
No, I like the Stronghold.
The Stronghold. Hell yeah. Well, it's Whatchu Spinnin' episode 70. Be nice to people. Stay hydrated. It's getting warm. And drive safe. Text me when you get home. Bye.